in a remote, densely wooded area on the outskirts of a small, forgotten town named Silverwood, an unsettling and inexplicable series of events began to unfold. Only a small group of daring individuals had dared to investigate the wonders of this remote area of wilderness, which was covered in darkness and devoid of contemporary society. It was a moonless night when a group of 3 friends decided to embark on an excursion into the heart of this eerie wilderness. They were drawn by rumors of a strange phenomenon, whispered tales of unexplained lights in the sky and shadowy figures lurking amidst the trees. Drive far into the woods, build a bonfire, and wait for something paranormal to emerge was their basic strategy. The group included Serafina, a thrill-seeker with a penchant for the paranormal who was eager to experience the supernatural firsthand, Alara, a no-nonsense skeptic who approached the adventure with a healthy dose of skepticism, Orion, the self-proclaimed expert in all things paranormal, who delighted in the opportunity to prove his theories correct. As they ventured deeper into the forest, the winding dirt road grew increasingly treacherous, gnarled branches clawing at their vehicle. Orion, who was at the wheel, couldn't shake a sense of unease that had settled in the pit of his stomach. Like the countless other expeditions he had previously led, he told himself that this was only another one. After hours of navigating the winding forest paths, they reached a clearing, an eerily silent space shrouded in an impenetrable darkness. The air grew still, the silence oppressive. They set up a campfire, casting long, flickering shadows that danced against the towering trees. Serafina indicated a far-off sparkle in the sky that appeared to defy understanding as the night grew darker. Orion, excited by the sight, was convinced that they were on the verge of a monumental discovery. Alara, however, remained skeptical, suggesting that it was probably just a distant aircraft. But then, as if to mock their skepticism, their vehicle's engine abruptly died, plunging them into a disconcerting silence. Panic rippled through the group as they tried and failed to restart the car. It was as if the forest itself had conspired to hold them captive. Their predicament grew increasingly unsettling when they began to hear faint, indistinguishable whispers emanating from the surrounding darkness. The voices seemed to come from every direction, as though the very forest were alive and conspiring against them. Alara's skepticism waned, and Orion's excitement shifted to dread. As the whispers intensified, Serafina's eyes widened with terror. She pointed frantically toward the trees, where shadowy figures moved with an unnatural swiftness. Tall, slender beings with elongated limbs emerged from the inky blackness, their eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. They moved in a synchronized, choreographed dance, circling the campfire as if in some macabre ritual. Frozen in fear, the trio could only watch as these entities closed in, their unearthly forms illuminated by the flickering flames. It appeared as though an old, sentient creature was collaborating with these evil beings because the forest itself seemed to pulse with malice. With a sudden, nightmarish grace, the entities reached out with long, skeletal fingers, their touch sending shivers of dread through the campers' spines. As if inviting them to participate in a bizarre, frightening dance, the voices became louder and more forceful. Orion, his theories of the paranormal shattered, could only mutter incomprehensible pleas for mercy. Alara, once the skeptic, clung desperately to her fading rationality, her eyes wide with terror. Serafina, the thrill-seeker, had met a terror beyond her wildest imagination. In a surreal, disorienting moment, the forest itself seemed to come alive. The trees swayed in unnatural patterns, their branches forming grotesque, contorted faces that leered down at the hapless campers. They were in danger of being engulfed whole by the shaking ground beneath them. The entities closed in, their ghastly forms casting long, haunting shadows. With each step, their unearthly voices grew louder, their whispers a cacophony of madness. As they reached out to claim their victims, the world around the trio dissolved into a nightmarish void of fear and despair. In that forsaken wilderness, far from the reaches of civilization, the three friends had stumbled upon an ancient and malevolent force, a force that defied all rational explanation, a force that reveled in their terror and despair. As the forest absorbed their terrified screams and the unnatural entities danced on, the night remained shrouded in darkness, concealing the horrors that lurked within its depths. The small, forgotten town would never hear of the fate that befell its curious visitors, for the forest had claimed them as its own, leaving nothing but whispers and shadows in its wake. Weeks stretched into months, and the trio's every waking hour was haunted by the recollection of that terrible night. Their once unbreakable bond had frayed, as the weight of the inexplicable terror they had endured bore down on them. Sleepless nights were plagued by vivid, nightmarish visions of the forest, the entities, and the relentless whispers. They set out on a mission to learn the truth about their terrifying experience because they were desperate for answers. Ilara, once the skeptic, delved into ancient texts and occult lore, seeking any reference to the malevolent entities that had tormented them. Orion, humbled by the magnitude of the unknown, scoured scientific journals and UFO databases for similar accounts of encounters. In pursuit of answers, Serafina contacted psychics, mediums, and paranormal researchers. She was motivated by an insatiable desire for closure. Their relentless pursuit led them to a retired forest ranger named Thaddeus, who had spent decades patrolling the wilderness surrounding their town. He spoke in hushed tones, revealing tales passed down through generations, stories whispered among those who called the forest home. According to Thaddeus, the ancient woods held secrets dating back centuries, secrets that defied explanation. He recounted legends of shadowy figures, whispered to be protectors of the forest, guardians of its enigmatic power. These beings, it was said, could manifest from the very shadows themselves, emerging to ward off intruders who sought to uncover the mysteries hidden within the trees. Thaddeus's voice trembled as he shared an unsettling truth. Those who encountered these entities were forever changed, their minds haunted by inexplicable nightmares and eerie whispers. Ilara, Orion, and Serafina listened intently, their hearts heavy with the weight of revelation. Thaddeus offered a chilling piece of advice: if they hoped to escape the malevolent grip of the forest and its guardians, they must never return to its depths, for the entities would forever hold sway over their souls. Determined to break free from the forest's sinister grasp, the trio swore never to venture into its depths again. They moved away from Silverwood, hoping that distance would dull the memories and whispers that haunted their every step. But as the years passed, and the scars of that night faded into painful memories, they couldn't shake the feeling that the forest had not released its hold on them entirely. In the dead of night, when shadows danced on their bedroom walls, they would catch the tiniest whispered echoes. A terrifying reminder that some evils were unavoidable. Nothing else could have brought them together the way their shared experience had. They had evolved from being merely buddies to being horror survivors. The forest also seems to have never really left them, despite their promise to never go back there. They were ultimately left with a terrible concern that would linger in the back of their minds. What had the forest intended from them that fateful night, and had its evil intent been fulfilled? Their dreams would be plagued by the mystery of the truth, which remained perpetually shrouded in darkness. And so, in the quiet moments of their lives, when the world was still and the night was darkest, they would remember the forest, the entities, and the whispers that had changed them forever.